I planned his promotion party and discovered his secret. Reddit. Love story time. Welcome back to the channel. Sometimes betrayal does not come crashing through the door. Sometimes it dresses up in a suit, smiles under fairy lights and toasts to a future it knows you are not part of. Tonight's story is about Olivia, a woman who believed in love, in loyalty, in building a life side by side with the person you trusted most. She planned a celebration, a moment to honor the man she loved, but what she did not know was that while she was planning his promotion party, he was planning his escape. Have you ever put your whole heart into something only to realize it was being handed to someone else behind your back? Have you ever stood in a room full of laughter and realized you were the only one still believing in a story that had already ended? This is not just a story of cheating. It is a story about seeing the truth when it would be easier to look away. It is about the quiet bravery of walking out without looking back. Stay with me, because sometimes the most painful endings are the ones we have to write for ourselves, even when we were never supposed to hold the pen. Let's begin. Olivia and Eric met, like so many modern love stories do, over coffee, over missed deadlines, over late nights where work laughter turned into private smiles. They built something steady, solid, a partnership that blended ambition and affection. When Eric was nominated for a major promotion, Olivia felt like she had won too, because when you love someone, their victories feel like yours. She spent weeks planning his party, calling the rooftop bar he loved, picking out the perfect decorations, ordering the cake he always joked about, a little briefcase made of chocolate. She wanted it to be perfect, not just for him, but for the life they were building together. The night of the party, the city lights stretched out like a carpet of stars below them. Music played. Softly, friends raised glasses. Olivia moved through the crowd glowing with pride, watching Eric laugh, shake hands, thank everyone for believing in him. But somewhere underneath the joy, she noticed it. The way Eric's eyes kept finding Samantha across the room, the way their conversations leaned in too close, lingered a little too long. She told herself it was nothing. She told herself she was imagining it. Until she went back to the bar, balancing 2 glasses of champagne, weaving through the crowd. And she heard it, Eric's voice, low, intimate, speaking to Samantha. "I am so glad we do not have to hide anymore. After tonight, everything changes." The words sliced through the music, cut sharper than any betrayal could. Olivia froze, drinks trembling in her hands, eyes wide, staring at a man she thought she knew, and realizing he had been planning his future with someone else all along. She did not confront him. She did not throw the drinks. Instead, she placed the glasses carefully on the bar, straightened her shoulders, and she walked away past the fairy lights, past the rooftop edge, past the life she thought she was building. She walked into the night, heartbroken, but dignity intact. Because sometimes the loudest goodbyes are the ones we never speak out loud. Some betrayals do not come with screaming matches or slammed doors. Some betrayals arrive quietly, disguised as laughter under fairy lights, as whispered promises behind champagne glasses. Olivia's story is not just about cheating. It is about trust, about loyalty, about believing you were building something solid, only to find the foundation had already been cracked. Planning his party was an act of love. It was not just about a job title. It was about celebrating the man she thought would stand beside her. Eric's betrayal was not only about falling for someone else, it was about allowing Olivia to build dreams while he was already walking away from them. Yet Olivia chose something powerful that night. She chose silence. She chose dignity. Because real strength does not always roar. Sometimes it walks quietly out of the door without demanding apologies, without causing scenes. We often believe that closure requires confrontation, but sometimes closure is the quiet moment you realize that no apology, no explanation will ever truly mend what was broken without your consent. Olivia's story reminds us that loyalty should not be begged, for that love should never require us to lose our self-respect. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to leave while your hands are still steady, and your heart, though broken, remains yours to protect. Healing does not begin when they say sorry. Healing begins when you choose yourself, when you choose peace, even when it hurts to walk away from the life you thought you were building. Now let us hear what the Reddit community had to say about Olivia's story. Because sometimes in the words of others we find reflections of our own silent battles, our own quiet courage, and our own beginnings after heartbreak. Unwritten Chapters wrote, "The saddest part is not losing them. It is realizing they were already gone while you were still holding on." 9K likes. This comment cuts deep. Sometimes the greatest heartbreak is not the betrayal itself. It is discovering you were the only one still fighting for something that had already ended. You Stay Soft, Stay Strong wrote, "Choosing dignity over confrontation is not weakness. It is the highest form of self-respect." 2K likes. So true. Olivia could have created a scene, could have demanded answers, but instead, she chose herself, chose her peace, and walked away stronger than ever. Our quiet. Bravery wrote, "Sometimes the loudest goodbye is the one you say with your silence." 9K likes. This comment captures the heart of Olivia's story. Words were not needed. Her silence said everything. It spoke of broken trust, of quiet endings, and of bravery no one else could see. Chunda Bittersweet. Sunsets wrote, "Healing does not start when they apologize. Healing starts when you stop needing them to." 8K likes. This is such a powerful truth. Healing begins the moment you reclaim your power, the moment you realize you do not need closure from the person who hurt you. You create it yourself. Better. Without who you wrote, "The love you gave them was real. Just because they could not value it does not mean you have to devalue yourself." 3K likes. Beautifully said. Olivia's love was real, and that is something no betrayal can ever erase. Her worth was never tied to how someone else chose to treat her. Reading these comments reminds us that even in heartbreak, there is dignity. Even in betrayal, there is a chance to choose ourselves. Have you ever walked away from something painful without demanding an apology? Share your story in the comments. Your voice deserves to be heard here. He proposed to me, but the ring was meant for someone else. Reddit Love Story Time. Welcome back to the channel. Sometimes heartbreak does not arrive like a storm. Sometimes it sits quietly in a small velvet box waiting for you to open it and find the truth staring back at you. Tonight's story is about Ella, a woman who believed she had found her forever. A woman who believed that love meant being chosen fully, completely. But sometimes love carries ghosts we cannot see until they slip into the room, wrapped inside a symbol we were never supposed to question. Have you ever trusted someone so much that you forgot to ask if they were truly ready to trust you back? Have you ever stood on the edge of a dream and realized it was built on the leftover pieces of someone else's past? This is not just a story about betrayal. It is a story about knowing your worth, about choosing yourself, even when it would be easier to close your eyes and pretend you didn't see the cracks. Stay with me, because sometimes saying no to the wrong forever is the bravest yes, you will ever give to yourself. Let's begin. Ella and Nathan were the kind of couple people rooted for. They laughed loudly in coffee shops, sent each other silly memes at 2 a.m., held hands during bad movies because they loved being close more than they loved the plot. They talked about forever in between folding laundry and planning vacations. They could barely afford. It was not flashy. It was real. So when Nathan told her he had a surprise, Ella never doubted. A night in, their favorite Thai takeout. A playlist Nathan made himself filled with songs they had danced to in kitchens and parking lots. And then, between bites of pad thai and off-key singing, he pulled out the ring, a small velvet box, shaking slightly in his hands. Ella's heart caught. She had imagined this moment so many times, but nothing compared to the real thing. She said yes, before even looking at the ring, because it was him, and that was enough. But then, as she turned the band slowly between her fingers, she saw it. An engraving, small, delicate, hidden just inside the band. Forever. Confusion hit first, like a missed step. She looked up. Her smile faltering, Nathan's face changed, the fear, the guilt all bleeding into his features faster than he could hide it. In a halting voice he explained the ring had been bought years ago. For Mia, the woman he had once loved, the woman he had once thought would be his. Always, after their breakup, the ring had sat hidden, buried until now, until he decided he was ready for forever again. But he had not been ready. Enough to start clean. Ella sat there, the ring growing heavier in her hand by the second, realizing she was not being offered a fresh beginning. She was being offered a recycled dream. She loved Nathan, but in that moment, she loved herself more. So she closed the box, gently placed it back in his trembling hand, and said in a voice steadier than she felt, "I deserve more than a second hand forever." Then she stood up, walked out of the apartment and into a future she would build for herself. A future where she would never again be anyone's second choice. Some heartbreaks are not about betrayal. They are about realizing that you were being asked to fit into a space that was never truly yours. Ella's story is not about anger. It is about awakening, about seeing clearly what love is supposed to be and what it should never feel like. Love, true love, should not be a hand-me-down. It should not be something pulled from the back of a drawer, dusted off, and offered with trembling hands and unfinished promises. Nathan may have loved Ella, but love without intention, without thoughtfulness, is not enough. In that moment, Ella realized she was being asked not just to love him, but to forgive a carelessness that spoke louder than any words could. We often think love is proven by how much we are willing to overlook. But real love, real self-love, is proven by what we choose not to accept. Ella's strength was not just in saying no, it was in understanding that forever should not come with an asterisk. It should not feel like settling for someone else's memories. Healing is not about pretending the ring never existed. It is about remembering that her worth, her future, was never tied to a piece of jewelry. It was tied to the knowledge that she deserved to be someone's first choice. Ella's quiet goodbye was not a loss. It was the beginning of a life built on self-respect, on fresh starts. Because sometimes the bravest kind of love is the love you give to yourself when you finally realize that you deserve more than just almosts and maybes and memories that were never truly meant for you. Now, let us listen to the voices from the Reddit community, because sometimes the words of strangers capture exactly what our own hearts are struggling to say. You first. Choice Only wrote, "You do not build forever on leftovers. You build it with someone who sees you as brand new every day. 9 This comment speaks directly to Ella's strength. She understood that real love does not come from recycled promises. It comes from being seen and chosen fully without hesitation. Oh, respect before. Rings wrote, "The ring is just a symbol. The real betrayal was believing she would not notice or that she would not care." 8. K likes so true. It was not just the ring, it was what it represented. An expectation that she would ignore the weight of what was missing. Clean Slates wrote, "You cannot build a new life with pieces of an old one. Ella deserved a fresh beginning, not a recycled ending." Petit? 3K likes. Beautifully said. Healing and true commitment require clean slates, not borrowed dreams from a past that should have been closed. Who's soft, no wrote. Sometimes the softest no is the loudest yes to yourself. 9-5. Likes. This comment captures the power in Ella's quiet refusal. She did not scream. She did not demand. She simply chose herself. And in doing so, she said yes to a future filled with the love she truly deserved. Not. The second choice wrote, "If you ever feel like someone's second choice, choose yourself instead every single time." 9-8K. Likes. A powerful reminder. Love is not about settling. It is about knowing your worth and walking away even when your heart still whispers to stay. Reading these comments reminds us that true love does not come from filling the spaces someone else left behind. It comes from finding someone who would never dream of offering you anything less than everything. Have you ever chosen yourself in a moment when it would have been easier to settle? Share your story in the comments. Your voice matters here. He said he needed space, but he moved in with someone else. Reddit. Love story time. Welcome back to the channel. Sometimes, heartbreak does not come with a final fight or a door slamming shut. Sometimes it comes with quiet words carefully chosen, wrapped in soft lies meant to hurt a little less. I need space. 2 words heavy enough to rearrange your whole world. You pack your dreams into boxes. Tell yourself to be patient. Hope that love, real love, just needs time to remember itself. But sometimes, I need space really means I need distance from you because my heart has already found somewhere else too. Tonight's story is about Lily, a woman who gave her heart time, patience, forgiveness, only to realize that the one she was waiting for had already moved on. Have you ever given someone all the room they asked for, only to realize they used that room to build a life without you? This is not just a story about lies. It is a story about the courage it takes to stop waiting, to stop hoping, and to start healing. Stay with me, because sometimes the most painful goodbyes are not the ones you hear, but the ones you see written in the lives they start living without you. Let's begin. Lily and Chris had built a life that looked steady from the outside. A small apartment with mismatched mugs, weekend trips to the farmer's market, lazy Sundays spent arguing about which movie to watch. They talked about the future, about saving for a house, about getting a dog, about all the ordinary little dreams that somehow become the most important ones. But somewhere along the way, Chris began to drift. It was not a sudden change. It was the slow fading of texts answered too late. Dinner, conversations that became quieter, hugs that grew shorter. Lily felt it. Of course she did. But love makes you hopeful, makes you forgive things before you even understand what needs forgiving. One night after a dinner filled with too much silence, Chris looked at her eyes, tired voice, careful, and said the words that would echo for weeks in her mind. "I need space." He said it was not about her. He said he just needed to clear his head. He said he needed time. And because Lily loved him, she gave it to him. She packed a bag, kissed him on the cheek, and walked out of the life they had built together, still believing, still hoping that space could lead them back home. Weeks went by, long, empty weeks, filled with second-guessing, late-night, wondering silent prayers to a love she thought was still alive somewhere. And then, one afternoon, scrolling without thinking, she saw it. Chris, smiling in a sunlit living room, arm wrapped casually around another girl, a girl Lily recognized vaguely from the office parties. The caption, "Light, cheerful. First weekend in our new place. No mention of needing space, no signs of missing her, just a life that had moved on without her." Lily sat on her bed, phone slipping from her fingers, heart cracking open in a quiet, slow way. No dramatic goodbye. No explanations. Just a new beginning that never once included her. She wiped her tears, took a deep breath, and promised herself she would never again wait for someone who had already decided that their future did not have her in it. Some goodbyes do not come with slammed doors or shouted arguments. Some goodbyes come wrapped in soft lies, whispered carefully so they hurt just a little less. Chris did not say, "I am done." He said, "I need space." Because sometimes it is easier to ask for space than it is to admit that you have already left Lily's. Heartbreak was not just about losing him. It was about waiting in a space he asked for, believing she was giving love when he had already given it to someone else. And that is a different kind of pain. The kind where you sit quietly holding on to hope while the person you are waiting for is building a new life without even glancing back. We often think that love requires patience, and sometimes it does. But real love, real partnership, does not ask you to put yourself on hold. Real love is not a waiting game. It is two people moving forward together. Even when life gets heavy, Chris asked for space. But what he really wanted was freedom. Freedom to start again, without the courage to say goodbye properly. And Lily, she gave him the space he asked for, and in doing so, she gave herself something even more precious. She gave herself permission to stop waiting, to stop wondering, and to start healing. Because sometimes the greatest act of self-love is to realize that the only person you ever needed to wait for was yourself. Healing does not come when they come back. Healing comes when you stop waiting for them too. Now, let us listen to the voices of the Reddit community. Because sometimes in the quiet reflections of strangers, we find the courage to close doors that were never meant to stay open. Softly Breaking wrote, "Space was never the problem. Love does not need space to survive. It needs honesty." 96K likes. This comment touches the heart of Lily's story. Space is only healing when both people are working to find their way back. Without honesty, space becomes an exit door, disguised as patience. Faded Promises wrote, "You were not waiting for him. You were waiting for the truth to catch up with your heart." 89K likes. Such a beautiful truth. Lily's heart already knew. She was not waiting for Chris. She was waiting for her own strength to finally hear what silence was trying to say. George Quiet. Realizations wrote, "Moving on starts when you realize that staying would only have delayed the heartbreak, not prevented it." 97K likes. This comment captures it perfectly. Some heartbreaks are not avoided by waiting. They are only postponed. Lily's choice to walk away was an act of mercy for her own future. AITA Healing. In Silence wrote, "Closure is not something they give you. It is something you create when you stop waiting for explanations. 10K likes. Powerful words. Closure is not a gift. It is a decision, a choice to choose yourself, even when every part of you still aches for answers you may never receive. Building. Without You wrote, never stay in a waiting room for someone who has already started building their life without you. 9. 4K likes, so true. Lily's strength was not just in seeing the truth, but in choosing to leave that waiting room behind and stepping boldly into a life where she was the architect of her own healing. Reading these comments reminds us that healing is not about getting closure from someone else. It is about closing the door gently, quietly, and walking forward into a future that you choose. Have you ever realized it was time to stop waiting for someone to come back? Share your story in the comments. Your voice deserves to be heard here.